Goldylocks Productions broadcasts universal cosmic frequencies that unlock, awaken, and expand the consciousness of our worldwide viewers and listeners. Goldylocks Productions presents Enlightening Conversations with Pam Silver Eagle.
Welcome back to the Perch, everyone. So grateful that you've landed here on the Perch with me for this sacred hour. Every Tuesday, we do the Enlightening Conversations with Pam Silver Eagle, and I am Pam Silver Eagle. So as we continue to have people join, I would just like to say, if you've been with me the last couple of weeks, I've decided to try a new location today. We're all about the new and change, and really been wanting to bring you into the outdoors with me. So we're gonna give this a try today, and it is a residential area, so there may be some things, and we're gonna just keep rolling and enjoying the beauty of being enfolded here on Earth Mother and having the beautiful trees surrounding me here, cocooning me, us, and being blessed with the symphony of all of nature around us. So I would like to go back to last week. If you were live with me last week, or if you watched my offering last week, was sharing how to really tune in very practical ways throughout our daily life, using our sacred tools and our gifts to manifest our reality, but also to hold us in these really turbulent times. So the mastery of recognizing the oneness of the great web of life really calls us to be able to center ourselves. And when everything is flowing and kind and peaceful, it's simple. However, we all know that we're moving through muchness here on Earth Mother as the new is being created. And so the old is crumbling. And so in that crumbling of structures and systems and things that are less than love, all the energies, all the fear-based, anger, greed, power, misuse of power, control, all across the earth plane. So again, how do we center ourselves so that we can be at peace and be able to do that in the midst of our daily life? And once we recenter ourselves, then we too can be that peace and hold the light for the rest of humanity. The surface dwellers here on Earth Mother, Virgo, our beloved mother, Pachamama. So I also had asked, including myself, to find maybe extra ways that we can spread the love in these times. Not just these times, but especially there's so much need for the peace and the calm and the love and the coming together, the unity. So some of you messaged me to let me know how you were taking intentional and conscious action to do just that. And so I want to thank you if you were one of the ones who messaged me back or posted something on perhaps my stream from last week. And I invite you to continue that practice, intentional practice daily, so that we can keep this tide of love flowing and this rising up of the unity consciousness, this new time. So important to watch our thoughts, because we are powerful manifestors, co-creating our reality. Talked about that last week as well. So again, if you haven't watched that feed or my debut show, I invite you to check it out. Or if you, maybe something now that I'd said last week or the week before didn't it resonate as much? Perhaps it now does. And again, you can go back and check those out at any time. So thank you for those of you who are participating along with me. And I certainly appreciate the comments, the shares, because truly we are all here to teach one another, to assist one another. And again, that's the unity consciousness. All of our experiences, very unique, and each of us in our own space, our own place along our eternal soul evolution, our ascension process. And yet, we come together to walk each other home. So today, one of the things I want to really focus on is last week I had a few questions, people asking what are some of the teachings or my spiritual practices that I use regular basis to help me center and to be that light. And when I get off center, how do I get back to center? So, again, there's so many teachings and teachers that will resonate differently with different people. And so as I share today, I would invite you just to feel into what I'm speaking of. And if it resonates with you, great. If you've never heard of what I'm speaking of, that's okay too. See how it feels, see how it flows. And just again, I recognize there are many paths, all going back to the oneness, the heart, the true source. And so, for time and our journey, we pick up different teachings and perhaps rely on different wayshowers to help us remember our truth. And then, sometimes we go up the ladder and we let different teachings go, or perhaps, this is this expansion in the consciousness. When we continue to awaken and rise up, then we say, well, thank you. And we keep that lesson or those teachings, perhaps prayers, perhaps even different authors, again, wayshowers. And we, there's certainly many wayshowers throughout history that are well-known names. And the truth of it is, as the indigenous ones teach, within the circle, there is no one greater in the circle than another. It's not right or wrong, good or bad. It's what resonates with us where we are at a time. And then we, without judgment, can move forward. And, then we see that great frequency of things maybe not resonating as much anymore. Many of us have grown up this lifetime within certain religions, and myself included. And I reached a point during my time of one of my periods of great awakening that I knew I was being called to expand beyond the limited beliefs of what I was practicing, what I was born and raised and practicing up until that point. And sometimes it's through wounding. There's been a lot of great wounding through different religions or communities, religious, whether it be churches or whatever those communities have been. And these are some of the revelations coming through, right? And this is nothing new. This has been going on for ever eons and eons of time. So back to the teachings. I want to share that one of my greatest tools in expansion was when I went on a retreat to Mount Shasta. Well, Mount Shasta called. It wasn't that I just said, hey, I'm going to sign up for this. I really had heard nothing about Mount Shasta in this lifetime. And a dear friend of mine, a trusted teacher, wayshower, and amazing astrologer, Dr. Amsara Dome, down in the St. Pete, Florida area, has been guiding people onto retreats, sacred places, spaces for a long time. And I knew that when I'd heard of a journey, actually 1 year, it wasn't that year, it would be a whole nother year. And then it was time for me to go. And it was at the time of a great transition in my life. I was taking a huge leap from my career of almost 30 years in the public school system. It's a national certified, board certified teacher, really dedicated to my work, teaching people about movement and health and wellness and coaching, athletics. And I mentioned the first date, my debut show, that was all preparing me for the teaching I would be doing now and helping people to heal. So on that platform, I was getting ready to take this huge leap of faith, one of many that I would take this lifetime, just like many of you, and sometimes we stick around a little longer because of fear, instead of, taking that leap of faith, trusting that we're ready and it's time to move on, especially when we are, from a very traditional space of family, perhaps, where change doesn't come easy, and that was the belief. And so you kind of, you're born into the world, and then you go to your early years of school and in a public school system, and you're practicing the same, whether it be your religion and cultural practices within the family. And then as we start expanding, and certainly at these rapid times of awakening, we start realizing that some of what we've been taught and we've been practicing isn't resonating. And I knew within my heart that a great bit of it hadn't been resonating for quite some time, some of the core teachings. And so again, it was time to move on. And I said yes to Mount Shasta and this amazing trip. And it would be at Mount Shasta that I had a huge activation. It was definitely time. And even while I was there at Shasta, I had amazing experiences, sacred experiences. And I knew in my heart, I could feel this was an area, a space, a sacred space that I've known as home. And I identify it as home. And I look forward to my return to the sacred, very magical and just awesome Mount Shasta and all that is Mount Shasta. And so without studying a whole lot about why I was being called to this sacred space, I did look a little bit about the stories of what Mount Shasta was for other people who had visited. And I was guided to a YouTube channel, and I listened, and it was some of the stuff I was seeing at the time was pretty far out there for me. And yet somehow deep in my soul, I was being guided onward to be open to this, the new information, the new wisdom, the new encounters, new experiences. So when I was at Mount Shasta and I was having these amazing experiences, I was guided to what seemed to be, locally, of course, you can find it available, the work of Aurelia Louise Jones. And she was a channeled messenger. She's a great messenger who is crossed over now, and certainly with all of us who are called to this work of the Ascended Masters. She's with us in spirit, of course. I'm going to just hold up this prayer booklet, which is what I brought back with me. So this is Mount Shasta Publishing, and some of you are already studying this, living this, teaching this, breathing this same mastery teachings, and others may be seeing it for the first time. And so on this platform of the Perch, which I have been nudged to create, I want to make sure that we cover the basis for everyone to feel comfortable no matter where you are in your journey. And so the understanding, we'll keep it very, very basic, and allow everyone to expand in their own time. And again, this may resonate and it may not resonate. So I was guided to this prayer booklet, although there are other texts that talk all about Mount Shasta and what is Mount Shasta. It would be this prayer booklet that I would use. It would become my daily prayer for 2 years, probably 2 weeks, 2 years. So I know that there is a beloved four-legged who's speaking. And so we are going to trust that in the peace be still, you will find calm. So the prayer booklet, really powerful affirmations that help me to expand, to be actually to remember that, wow, not only does this resonate, now I'm recognizing that I'm here to teach. I'm here to teach these ascended master teachings. And so, you know, we are all masters. And again, different places on our journey. And so the connection with the ascended masters for me has expanded. And I use, this is my go-to. It would be 2 years ago, I believe, in December, that I was guided to actually pick up the full text. See if you can show it there. So this is the whole text. Well, I call it the sacred text. To me, once I found this book, I knew that it gave me so many answers to what I knew was my truth. And this is my go-to. And this book has an energy all its own. It carries the vibration of the ascended masters and the 7 sacred flames. So again, if you're not familiar and it calls out to you, check it out on Mount Shasta Publishing is the place I recommend to go for any of these resources. So the 7 sacred flames, there's a lot to these teachings, of course. But what I was guided to share with you today is that there's a planetary hierarchy. And, you know, when I talked about the different teachings, the different masters, the different, some, you know, whether it be Buddha, whether it be Jesus, you know, the angels, the archangels are all divine complements. It's part of this sacred hierarchy. And the ray that, the flame that is reached out for me to teach today is to talk about the violet flame. And the reason being that the violet flame is the flame of transmutation. And we, of course, are in a huge time of transformation here on the earth plane. And so, again, when people ask, well, what are some of the tools you use? And this is what's coming through me, even in, you know, my vibration, my frequency. And so this is what I'm sharing with you today. Saint Germain is the overseer. We could say the Lord of the sacred flame. And I want to read to you from the Sacred Flame book what Saint Germain has to say about the violet flame. So in the foreword, it's simply, his words are, ponder well on the power of mercy and the violet flame to dissolve the cause and core of distress and pain generated by the return of past misuse of free will. Then resolve to dissolve the effects before they appear in your life. You can consciously use the violet fire in action to do this by invoking it daily and hourly. This will assist you to transmute the negative energy embedded in all your various bodies and heal the emotions connected to those energies, which will help you to embrace a new level of consciousness. The Ascended Masters' full gathered momentum of the effective use of the violet flame is available for any of you, any of us, okay, who choose to say yes, to anchor it into our world at this time. And again, so many people are working with the violet flame. People are waking up to the violet flame. I'm seeing it appear on more and more people's Facebook pages and social media. And so it is part of the divine plan. And again, if it resonates with you, I'm here to just help you kind of tap in if you're not as experienced with it or familiar with it. So as more and more individuals learn the efficiency of the power of the transmutation through this invoking the action of the sacred fire, we shall have on earth a brotherhood of freedom who can at will free themselves and others from the shadow side of life. And we know that we are walking through the shadows. We know we're walking through the shadows, our own shadows, but also the collective, so that we can bring the light. This is the new golden age of enlightenment. This is the Christ, the cosmic Christ consciousness. That's what this is all about. And so within these sacred flame teachings, there's a powerful, powerful, just daily activities that you can call on. Because again, it's about living with intention, being conscious and living with intention. And so again, these are the sacred tools. It doesn't matter, if you're at work. I talked about the violet flame last week. I was invoking it and working with it, even in the hospital. Yeah, it's a really good place where any place where energies are, the collective energies, especially when there's, masses, the collective energies are really turbulent. Again, that anger, greed, power, fear, control based, all that divine, the imbalance of the masculine energies. And so I want to share with you, I'm going to go here to this next page because I want to talk about the Saint Germain teaches us to be the true alchemist, and again, shifting, transmuting our energies. So in our own evolution, we can master. That's what this is about. We master our own consciousness, and yet, to help transmute the energies in the collective. So, and I apologize for our canine friend. It's a little distracting for me, and I'm sure for you as well. But again, we're going to just roll with it. We're going to roll with it. Bear with me here while I find my Saint Germain. The violet flame of transmutation, the main God qualities and actions of the violet flame: freedom, transmutation, transformation, diplomacy, ceremony, application of science, and true alchemy. The corresponding chakra is the seat of the soul. The color is violet, so hence my violet flame shirt today. Saint Germain works with the archangels of the seventh ray, Zadkiel and Amethyst. And, again, those would be what they refer to as the divine complements, because it's all those who are serving on that ray, which is the seventh ray. There are more than 7 sacred flames, but those are the ones we've been given to work on first. Those are the necessary ones to help us. And again, when I say necessary for your ascension process, it may not be through a book called the 7 Sacred Flames. However, in what I'm finding and what I'm being guided to study is that really it's all the same. It may be different words used or some little different practices, but truly these teachings, these ancient teachings from on high, are it's the walk. I also study and been called to remember the Star Nation teachings of the indigenous ones. And when I go through my study on that, it's the same. It's the same ascended masters. It's the angels, the archangels, and all of our celestial helpers, the ancient ones and beyond. So again, this separation of teachings really is what we're also moving away from in this oneness. Because it really, when it comes down to it, we're being asked to heal ourselves, gain our own freedom and victory in the light. This is the ascension, and to help one another. And again, that's what we're all doing at this time. It's a beautiful, beautiful, very auspicious, certainly challenging, but auspicious, wonderful, miraculous time. If you've not seen any of the videos that I've been posting and my work when I'm called out to the land, I would encourage you to check out my Facebook page, Pam Silver Eagle, because on that page, you will see some amazing frequencies. I'm an anchor for the New Earth energies. all divine love. It's all about divine love. And, that is an example of what we're experiencing. So many of us are experiencing at this time. And, we all have different roles. Mine is as a wayshower, a healer, an anchor, and more. And, again, not everyone is here to serve in that way. However, each of us in our own way, we are a piece of the puzzle, and the puzzle of love and the puzzle of oneness. So, it's important to be intentional and to be heart-centered. Heart-centered. So I am going to read to you another piece from this book that I thought might be good, especially for those of you who aren't as familiar. Well, in my makeshift little space here, so again, thank you for your patience. That's Lucky. Lucky's working on his throat chakra. So I'm going to read to you the Invocation to the Violet Flame. And this is a sacred prayer, really is what it is. And so with Lucky singing along and be out here and folded in the trees, I'm going to ask you to just kind of center in. And if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, I invite you to do that. And just to have your feet, if you're outside, awesome. On the earth. If you're not, wait a minute. Okay, here we are. Feet down on the earth. And if that's floor inside, okay. If it's outside, awesome. So in this prayer, as you take a nice deep breath and center in and envision violet, color of violet. From the Lord God of my being, I am that I am. I call to beloved Saint Germain and your legions of cosmic violet flame angels to come forth to infuse and saturate my being with all activities of the sacred fire, especially the violet flame of transmutation and freedom. Clothe me with your cosmic mantle of violet fire of transmutation, healing, freedom, diplomacy, and the science of true alchemy. Dissolve and consume from my being all that does not reflect perfect love and harmony. Through mercy's flame, transmute all errors of the past and barriers to my ascension. Protect the youth of this world in the aura of the violet flame. With much gratitude, I ask this to manifest in God's holy name, so be it. Beloved, I am. Beloved, I am. Beloved, I am. And so if you've not worked with the violet flame or any of the invocations, and of course, this is, I get started. Or, sometimes if you're having a hard time centering, you can use these. But it's always best to create your own prayer, your own asking for assistance, or your own affirmation to proclaim that for all of the earth plane. So again, these are helpers to get you started, to get us started, and then always speaking truth from our heart once we, are working and comfortable and ready to go. That's why I said I started out with this companion prayer booklet and a little bit of study for, I think it was 2 years before the text called me. And, now I use it as anyone would any sacred text. Some days I'll just flip through in the morning in my sacred time or whenever, and I'll ask, what is it for me to work on today? Or what can I offer in my service to the world today? Sometimes it's, in addition to the prayers, I'm going to show you here illustration. Like this is a picture, of just some nice sacred geometry in here. Again, when you're meditating or just sitting in the peace, be still, to gaze into the frequencies are here. When I carry this book, I might be walking down the street, and Just had a vision. And people ask, what is that book? And it's so it has a whole, it does truly carries the energy of the ascended masters and the teachings, the wisdom, the healing. So it's an amazing book. There's lots of study here too, not just the prayers, right? But a lot of information that as I started reading through it, I went, not only does that, you know, it helps us to awaken. Before, if it resonates, it wasn't just because somebody said it or it's another book that was interpreted. It was, yes, channeled, but you know that something's in alignment with you and you can feel it in your depths, to your depths. And that's, and then the next thing beyond just feeling it, whether it be your heart chakra expanding or you're getting the God bumps or whatever it is that's going, letting you know that that resonates. Then there's the remembrance. I know this. Not only do I know this, but I know these ascended masters. These are my brothers and my sisters, and the angels, the archangels, and whether it be the those are the root races, So again, there's a lot here, and I will be using these teachings. I usually sharing these teachings during my sacred Tuesdays with you as I am called. And so the Violet Flame and Saint Germain called this morning. So here we are. All right. Let me see what else I've got to share with you here. And I'm covering a lot of ground and moving through the interruptions. It's about being flexible and going with the flow. So thank you for hanging in there with me, those of you that are still here. And I also would like to share this other prayer called Flood the Earth with Violet Fire. Now, I have been posting some of these, actually quite a bit, up on my Facebook page, not just recently, but the last couple years. So there's some pictures, some of them I take with my own photography, and some of them would be shared from the book. I always give credit to the sources that I'm using if I'm using somebody else's that's been printed or published. But again, this is how we share, help each other remember. And just whatever it is, again, so many of you are light workers, wayshowers, and it's great. It's like a buffet, right? It's like a buffet so that the masses, as there's so much awakening taking place, and it's like it's an expedited course. We're here, we're in it, and how do people are searching, and we all continue to seek, and then we realize that okay, this is where I'm at, and this is what's working for me, and this is what I'm affirming, and these are my tools. And whoever else I can help along the way, then thank you, God. Yeah, thank you, God. All right, let me get back here to the next one I wanted to share with you. This is when I was speaking of posting on Facebook often because it's so relevant right now, so relevant. This is Flood the Earth with the Violet Fire. And then again, just to give you an example of some of the affirmations I'm putting up and the energy I'm putting out, and so many others. Flood the earth with the violet fire. In the name of the great I am. I call for the light of 1,000 suns from the great central sun. Angels of violet fire. Beloved Saint Germain, beloved Zadkiel, holy amethyst, Omritas, ruler of the violet planet. In the name of God I am, that I am. And saturate the earth and all of her evolution with limitless waves of violet fire. I call for the action of the violet transmuting waves of violet fire. Flame, the transmuting flame, and the action of the will of God to manifest on earth now and forever and ever, increasing spiral of divine perfection. I call for all discord and activities on earth that are not reflecting the highest light and God's holy purpose to be miraculously swept and transformed. Right? Miraculously swept and transformed. We're clearing it out and we are changing it. This is the alchemical, we're transmuting it. And this is the specialty of the violet flame. This is what it does. And it's real energy, a real gift from the heavens that we can call on. so sacred. I call for all discord and activities on earth that are not reflecting the highest light and God's holy purpose to be miraculously swept and transformed by the power of the violet flame into divine love and harmony for the restoration of earth and her people into the original blueprint of perfection that was originally intended. Violet flame, oh violet flame. In the name of God, flood the earth, her people, and all her kingdoms with oceans and oceans of violet fire, until every particle of life is restored to divine perfection. May peace and love be spread throughout the earth. May the earth abide in the aura of perfect love, divine love, perfect love. Violet flame, oh violet flame. In the name of God, flood the earth, her people and all her kingdoms with oceans and oceans of violet fire until every particle of life is restored to divine perfection. May peace and love be spread throughout the earth. May the earth abide in the aura of perfect love. May the earth abide in the aura of peace, love, and freedom. I give thanks this is now done according to God's holy will. So be it, beloved I am. And again, these are powerful, powerful affirmations and so very helpful. And we are being so assisted. When we call forth the masters, the angels, the archangels, are perhaps some of you are, many of you are working with our brothers and sisters of Intelos and our Lemurian brothers and sisters. And that too resonates with so many of us because this is our history. And they are here supporting us now to transmute all these energies that are less than love. So again, in this sacred space of the prayers that I've offered here and introduced some of you to, and some of you are smiling, oh, we have been working with that for a long time. Some of you that are pioneers out there have seen more sunrises and sunsets than I have this lifetime. These are not new teachings. This is not new thought. This is old remembrance and tools, sacred gifts that now more than ever we've been gifted to help us in the process of ascension. And so again, I encourage you to feel what resonates when you're exploring and you're joining different presenters on all the ways we're sharing in this time when we're on this global spiritual retreat, and we can't necessarily be together in physical space. And through technology, the miracle of technology, we all have the ability to share our teachings, our offerings, sound healing, meditations, and really good to be able to say hello. Hey, how have you been? I haven't seen you in a while. And this is one of the ways we get to do it on large platform with more and more people as, again, we're connecting all across the globe. One of the other things I want to talk about that is clearly related is when we talk about the intentionality of using our tools and the teachings to recenter ourselves, there are frequencies that we can call in that maybe some of you don't realize. I know I didn't always realize that. Of course, everything is about frequency, and so when we learn more and more, we understand, and we can again intentionally, consciously call these things in. The frequency of joy and the frequencies of faith and hope are so important right now. And I know that I'm hearing a lot of my brothers and sisters that are teaching as well, speaking and helping people to awaken to these tools, these reminders on how we recenter and become peaceful. And joy is one of those things that sometimes in the midst of what we're all moving through, you can think, well, how in the world could I possibly be in joy? Because this doesn't feel like joy. The mastery of being co-creators and co-creating our own, reality. It's not, again, it's not about being insensitive or denial that there's a lot of stuff going on, and some of it's tough stuff. It's challenging, and there are souls that are crossing over, and there are people in pain and suffering. But and in our humanness, our human aspect, yeah, it's a beautiful, messy, awesome, amazing journey. Because of course, beyond our human aspect, we do have the I am. We are the I am presence, and sometimes we just need help remembering that. So, my last 2 weeks on a personal walk, my experience with some beloved family members being very ill, and some trauma involved, and I shared that last week. And again, it's interesting the opportunities we have to grow in our mastery. When we've done a lot of work and our journey has taken us, through many trials and the deaths and the rebirths, the natural cycles, starting from 0 point. I have done this many times, this earth walk. And so it is through these experiences, as many of you are helping to guide others through. We've had these challenging times. We've been through, the wounded healer who has risen up to heal thyself, and so we can help others heal. And so, in the midst of my last 2 weeks, there have been times when I've been really out of balance because of my role in helping my family, being a leader for my family, and having to be a caregiver in a direct way, having to be brave and hold my beloveds when they're in pain or suffering or great trauma, fear. And when we put up the prayers and we ask for assistance beyond our human self, our higher self, our sovereign self, responds and helps us remember who we are. And all of our divine helpers and our brothers and sisters walking the earth plane who we may consider our close inner circles, that we know we can rely on and call on, and we can hold each other in the way and truly recognize it without judgment, and with so much love, we can support one another, however that is, whether it be through prayers or just being still and listening to that person. There's so many different ways. But again, I always go out to the woods the best I can, or into the land when this is my sanctuary, my safe haven, as I've shared. And I'll tell you, these last 2 weeks, the situations I've been in, I have not been able to be outdoors for a streak of that time. And so I got to master a whole new level of finding that center, being at peace, and having the faith, holding the faith, remembering the faith, having hope. And so looking out the window, it's what humanity is moving through. Again, there's so many people awakening that are scared and have no idea what's going on. There are those of us who are a bit more seasoned, and yet we still, constantly get to remember who we are and find that center, that peace, and yes, joy. And so my guidance this week, from my personal guidance, is to really be in that joy, What is it? And it doesn't have to be elaborate. And if you have opportunity to make it elaborate, great. But again, we're all dealing with some unusual circumstances and seemingly restrictions as far as how we can socialize or where we can go and where we can't go. And so it helps us to tune in, fine tune that living a heart-centered gratitude. Talked about that as well. Giving gratitude for the simple things that maybe aren't so simple, but seem simple, that we maybe have taken for granted. Or so I could tell you, after coming out of the hospital for 5 days, all day, and just coming out and seeing, the sun setting across the lake, or sitting out in the yard till a little bit past dark 30 and just breathing and giving gratitude for the sacred element of air. After coming out of the hospital, where so many people are, they're on ventilators, or we're in a controlled environment where it's not the natural air. And those things that we maybe take for granted at times, we recognize are so, so important, such great gifts. And when we say thank you and we give gratitude for those blessings that we receive all the time, it might be our health. I've been affirming that a lot lately. Thank you, God, for my health, my wholeness. And then affirming it, even if where our bodies are shifting in this great ascension process. And so, we're experiencing ascension symptoms. And we've talked about that as a tribe here on Goldylocks Productions. It's important to honor what your body is saying to you. And when you don't listen, the body will speak it a little bit louder and a way to get your attention. So, again, this is part of my teachings, is wellness, mind, body, spirit, soul. It's a package deal, and it can be a lot. We've got to work on keeping that balance. What are we eating? What are we taking into our body temples? Talked about fresh water a lot and giving gratitude for the water. The simple things, the breeze, the birds singing, right? Because they're just toning us, they're helping us tone back into that peace, be still. So again, wherever you are and whatever you're moving through in your daily lives, these are the tools, these are the prayers, the affirmations that'll help us to remember and center, expand consciousness, and to assist others. So very important. The energy of joy, and if you set your intention of, I will be walking, and I like to cultivate the life force, right? Whether it's basic Tai Chi, Qigong, if you've studied those practices, or yoga, the breath work, whatever it is, set that intention and call it in. Affirm. I call in the frequency of joy and breathe that in and hold that breath. And release with gratitude, and as things come up that don't feel so good, give thanks for those and release them back to the universe, and they may be transmuted, violet flame, transmuted into higher frequency of true light and love. The hope and the faith. Better is coming. Better is coming. And again, my brother, Wayshower, Jesus Christ, it's part of his great teachings, these mastery teachings that my friend Lee Chapin has written of in her book, The 12 Mastery Teachings of Christ. Once we become the masters of, it doesn't mean we don't feel, you got to feel the feels for sure, and the healing. And yet, again, in the human aspect, we're going to have triggers, and we're going to have old stuff come up to be released. And it's an opportunity to use these tools with great intention, and we see the results. Sometimes it's instantly like that. Sometimes it may take a little while. So I would like to ask if there's anybody that has any questions for me or anything that they'd like to share. If you've worked with the 7 sacred flames, or specifically the violet flame, and would just like to make a comment, anybody make a comment of how you're using it, or how it's helped you transmute something that's lower frequency. I know we've got maybe about 10 minutes left or so. So again, I like the interaction and being able to share. Anybody has, again, a comment or a question? We'll take some of those at this time. Okay. And in the meantime, and please feel free to pop those up there if you have anything for me. Each day, what I want to say about the 7 sacred flames is each day, one of the rays is more prevalent. You can call on them and work with them at all times, but there are certain days of the week that the different rays are more prevalent. And so that is also very helpful and very interesting. So another example, one of the sacred rays is the healing ray, the healing flame. And all those who've been called to, to study the Reiki healing, quantum touch, or whatever modality that, the one feels called to study, or all of them, whatever it is, we likely serve on the green ray. Okay. And so how interesting the synchronicities of through time, even with some of the religious structures, systems, churches, where Wednesday night is a sacred night. And I know I've been a very active community leader in Unity churches in the St. Pete, Citrus County, and a little bit down in the Naples area. One of the things about the Wednesdays and the green ray, the healing ray, is that it's a Wednesday evening meditation, healing, meditation services, all in alignment. So, and the reason I'm speaking this is it kind of goes back to, did we lose me? I wonder. I'm wondering. I've got a frozen screen, and I don't want to touch it because I don't want to disappear from your screen. So I'm going to just leave it like this. I don't know if you've got me on the audio, but I'm just going to finish up with this. So again, back to the history of time when these communities, spiritual communities, were setting up. They certainly were receiving the same guidance from the same masters and the same wayshowers from on high, and it all correlates. Like I said, the teachings of love and heart-centered unity consciousness. If you look at them, they're all so very much leading us to the same place. And so I am going to, again, Tiffany, if you can hear me, I am not, looks like I am frozen. So I am going to close out here. And I invite you, if you can still hear me, to join me at my Facebook page to see the services that I offer. And it's easy to schedule with me. So I encourage you to take a look at those. And I appreciate you spending your time here with me on the Perch this week. And, we try things in different locations, and we may find out that this is not going to be a good space. But again, those of you that hung on with me or will watch later, I so appreciate your energy being here, your loving energy, and your support of me and my mission, and all of those who are on the Goldylocks Productions platform and on the tribe. And so I say thank you, and I send you blessings for, right now. Let's live in the now. So important. Living in the now and being that light and love. So I bless you. I give gratitude, for we are all brave souls who've agreed to be here at this time. And I say namaste.
Don't want the fun to end? Grab more refreshments, then head over to Goldylocks Productions' YouTube channel. With over 950 archive shows, the fun doesn't have to end.